Hey guys, I'm gonna go ahead and make another short one here because there was a point that someone made to me yesterday during a live stream that they blame Trump for losing this midterm election. I just want to make this really clear, and I really want someone to answer me this. Why do you give Trump agency and none of the other Republicans agency? Because you like to say that Trump is a loser because he lost in 2020, despite the fact that the media literally rigged the election against him by hiding the Hunter Biden laptop. And now Biden has this horrible economy that he has to deal with and prove that he can lead more effectively than Trump, and he has proven that he can't lead more effectively than Trump. So you want to give Trump agency over the loss of every Republican in every race since then. You don't want to blame McConnell for taking money away from Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania. You don't want to blame McConnell for that. You want to blame Trump for it. Oh, they were Trump-backed candidates, and therefore it's Trump's fault that they lost. Maybe if they were better at funding themselves, or if they hadn't been sabotaged by other members of the party who hate Trump, they would have won. But what did McConnell do? He sent a lot of the money that should have gone to those 4 races to the Alaska Senate race, where it was 2 Republicans against each other. But McConnell wanted his Republican to beat Trump's Republican in Alaska. And that's exactly what happened, because he sent millions and millions of dollars and wasted it on that race. It shouldn't have mattered which Republican won that race. It shouldn't have. He should have focused on a race where a Republican was not guaranteed. But you want to blame Trump for all of it. Who controls Kentucky's GOP? Who controls Kentucky's GOP? Kentucky's Republican candidate lost. Who controls the GOP in Kentucky? It's McConnell. It's McConnell. Where was McConnell funding the GOP gubernatorial candidate? Huh? Where was the money coming from him? They want to send all this money to DeSantis for a race that he is losing 6-1 in the polls. And again, I said I would vote for DeSantis even now in 2028 if he ran. And the fact that he ran now was a horrible misstep, because it was going to split the party in half. And that's exactly what it did. And he had a dozen strategic mistakes during the race. Whoever is advising him needs to be fired. But he won't fire them. He keeps making mistakes. I don't want him to ruin his career. I want him to succeed. There's things I disagree with, both DeSantis and Trump. But right now, Trump is the guy. DeSantis cannot beat him. Not in a debate, not on stage, not anywhere, not in an election. Because Trump has incumbency. He proved he could lead efficiently and effectively. Now you can blame him for 2020 all you want, but Trump has said over and over and over again, states' rights, states' rights. Abortion goes to the states. Instead of a federal ban being passed by the Supreme Court, the states have the right to decide. The states had the right to shut down their states. One thing that those guys said in the live stream is that Trump praised Cuomo and Gavin Newsom. Look, you can compliment your enemy. You can compliment your political opponent. You can compliment people who are opposed to you. to think that everyone is just stupid on the other side is stupid. Like, holy hell, what are you thinking? And excuse me for like getting upset about this, but you don't want to blame anyone but Trump. You don't want to blame the candidate for not campaigning harder or getting better donations, thinking outside the box. You don't want to blame other Republicans who screwed over those candidates specifically because they want to make Trump look bad. Specifically, you know McConnell has been undermining Trump for years. But you want to put in someone else who McConnell supports? Why? 70% of Republicans hate McConnell's guts. And that happened because he condemned Trump over January 6th. You can actually see in the polls for a favorability to McConnell just invert from positive to negative by like 40 points overnight because of January 6th. But you didn't see that with other Republicans. And it wasn't even that. And that was with Republicans. Republicans who never bought into the narrative that it was an insurrection all stopped supporting McConnell because of that day. And not only that, it's not even just about revenge or getting people to vote Trump to make up for 2020. What this is all about at this point is that we arrested a political candidate, a former president, the mainline frontrunner for one of the major parties in the country for the first time in our entire American history. Or entire history, this has never happened. And you're gonna let him get away with it? It's not even about DeSantis versus Trump. It's about sticking it to the system to tell them, no, we're never, ever going to allow that. We are never going to allow you to interfere within an election this blatantly. So we're going to vote for Trump, put him in the office, just to say no. It doesn't even matter if you hate Trump. You should vote for him anyways, just to stick it to all of these corrupt politicians in DC. You do not have to be on Team Trump or Team DeSantis. You can be on both. But I can criticize both. I can criticize DeSantis for making strategic errors. I can criticize Trump for not understanding certain topics and believing his advisors. Trump should have fired more advisors. DeSantis should fire more advisors. Both of them have that problem. Both of them do. Do you really think DeSantis is going to get better advisors once he's in office? He is not. He's not going to get better advisors in office right now. If he got in right now, than he has already running his campaign. So his entire term would be just bad advice after bad advice being given to him, and he might just screw up worse than Trump's first term. But since we already know that Trump's first term was amazing up until COVID, and that COVID wasn't his fault, and he didn't do the lockdowns, he said he believed Fauci for the 2 weeks. But then after that, he let the states do whatever they wanted. And it didn't come out afterwards that Fauci had moved his COVID labs from America to China. We weren't sure that Fauci was actually involved in the Chinese labs. We figured he probably did. It seemed like he did, but we didn't get concrete concrete evidence of that until Jim Jordan came around. And all the other Republican committees that we won in 2022, by the way. And people tried to blame Trump for a Republican win. The Republicans won the House. And people said Trump cost us the election. Why? Because of the Senate? Because McConnell, again, was the one who took away all those funds from all those Senate candidates. And now, those guys from yesterday also claim that Ronald McDaniel and Lindsey Graham are both Trump boys. Really? Really? Trump kept those guys from being mocked on stage, but he was smiling the entire time. He thought it was hilarious. And while Lindsey Graham has basically tried to help Trump in order to keep his job, and Trump has scratched his back in return to try to earn some loyalty, the fact of the matter is Lindsey Graham is incredibly unpopular, and he's probably going to lose the next time he has an election, just because no one likes him. No one. And you can't blame Trump for that, because Lindsey Graham is responsible for his own hatred. He is responsible for all the hatred that is directed against him. You can criticize Trump for trying to lessen people's hatred of him and say that Trump should be supporting a MAGA candidate to take over for Lindsey Graham, but Lindsey Graham isn't running for office right now. You think just Trump ticking off literally every Republican, turning MAGA into its own little cult? That's what they keep calling us, right? They keep calling MAGA a cultist. Where Trump is out here trying to bring the party together to have people like, hey, calm down a little bit. It's not that big of a deal. We can figure this out later, but right now we're stuck with him. So how about we work together and be a little bit cordial? And you want to blame Trump for that. You think Trump is going to be upset if Ronald McDaniel gets shot down? Gets booted from her job, is what I mean. Do you think Trump was all that upset that McCarthy lost his position? Trump backed McCarthy because McCarthy was put up as the guy that the Republicans as a whole thought would be a good candidate. And when Trump told the MAGA Republicans, hey, you should support the guy, they told him to bugger off because we're not cultists. They looked at it and they're like, hey man, you're the one who formed this movement. We love you, big guy, but we need a few things first. And they got those things. They didn't just blindly follow Trump. None of us blindly follow Trump. But when we're looking at the polls, when we're looking at the two campaigns between DeSantis and Trump, we can tell that Trump is just better suited to win right now. Especially since the favorability for DeSantis just keeps going down and down. Because he is taking further right positions, he is not compromising, and he is losing all the independents. The independents who believe he would ban abortion. A lot of independents are libertarians who don't want big government. I'm not saying they're left-wing. I'm saying that they don't want big government. They might not like abortion, but they don't want the government to get involved. So they're not going to support DeSantis. They're probably just going to default to the libertarian candidate, whoever that is. You can't just keep trying to push this right now. A lot of people on the left and in the center are not cool with the abortion bans yet. And while we should limit abortions so that we stop killing the kids, The fact of the matter is that a lot of people just either don't want the government to get involved, or they don't see the fetuses as kids, and they don't want their rights to be taken away. And unfortunately for us, right now, both those groups combined are a majority. Maybe in the future, more libertarians will look at it and be like, yeah, let's protect the rights of the kids too. Let's not worry about big government right now for that particular issue, because these kids need to be protected. Who knows? Who knows? But right now it is not the thing. And they were also like criticizing me because I said, hey, that bill that banned speech against anti-Semitism was also kind of stupid, because for the love of God, he went to Israel to sign it. I'm not saying people should be anti-Semitic, but let's face it, allowing people on the left to be anti-Semitic is going to turn the Jewish community to the right. And we can see them doing it out in the open because they're not afraid of being punished for it, and therefore we can watch them and make sure that they don't do anything crazy. Now their point was that, well, the bill is supposed to ban people from like making like the Nazi symbol on houses that belong to Jewish people, or shining lights in synagogues. Yes, the bill does do that, but it doesn't just do that. It bans any form of anti-Semitism, even if it's just someone making a post online. Meaning that someone who went on 4chan thinking that they were anonymous can say something edgy and be thrown in jail, even if they aren't actually anti-Semitic. If they just make a joke, they can be thrown in jail. That is what people are afraid of when DeSantis signed that bill. And then he did it in Israel, where everyone wants to put America first. The Republican Party as a whole wants to put America first. And you made it about Israel. That's not what people want. That's the problem with the bill. It is too vague. It's too broad, and it will be abused if a Democrat ever gets into office. It's short-sighted. It should have been specifically for, if you were going to make it, it should have just been specifically for messing or screwing with Jewish people in an anti-Semitic fashion. But how do you know? Sometimes, how are you going to know that someone who got attacked because they were Jewish, or just because the person attacking them wanted to attack somebody? It's the same thing with hate laws about people attacking minorities in general. Maybe, just maybe, the first person they saw was a minority, and they just wanted to hurt somebody. Maybe it's not always a hate crime. Maybe it's just a crime. It's like, and every violent crime is done out of hatred of some sort. So what do you mean you're going to put hate on top of it? Wouldn't every violent crime be a hate crime by definition because you hate that person for whatever reason? That's why people were so upset that they hid the trans shooter manifesto, because it was targeted against white people, which hurt their narrative that only white people attack only black people, or something along those lines. Not true, not true, not true. When you want to stick it to the system, when you want everyone to work together, when you want the party to be united, DeSantis made a huge mistake by running. Because people are not going to stand for Trump being arrested, even if they don't like the guy. People are not going to be happy when you're trying to split the party down the middle. And who are even DeSantis voters? MAGA who don't like Trump? MAGA voters who became MAGA because of Trump, who no longer like Trump, who now like DeSantis? Are you trying to tell me the majority of MAGA, American First people, who really jumped on the bandwagon with Trump, are now going to support DeSantis just because? Again, not a cult, but this is literally the founder of the movement you're talking about. I'm going to go in circles. DeSantis should have just stayed out of it, man. If they had just... Because you know they were fighting in private. Trump was attacking DeSantis because obviously they were fighting in private. If DeSantis had just sat out and just said, like, hey, can I be your vice president? And they hadn't fought in private, because Trump could have recorded all of those conversations and he could have released it and he could have ruined DeSantis immediately if he had wanted to. Instead, he let DeSantis ruin himself. And he talked some crap about DeSantis, but it was only because he knew DeSantis was going to run. He knew DeSantis was getting ready to stab him in the back. If DeSantis just sat out or just said, hey, I'm going to see how much support I get, maybe you can make me your vice president run, but no, because Trump wouldn't have agreed to DeSantis running against him at all. Because he would have seen it as, hey, I mean, yes, you can try to get as much support as you can, and then we can combine our support bases together, but you're just going to pick off some people from my camp, and those people are going to argue with my people, who are still with me, and it's going to be a huge fight, and it's going to cause division, and everyone's going to hate each other. Exactly what happened. Now, maybe Trump couldn't have predicted all of that, and Trump should have just laid off DeSantis to keep the division from increasing. But again, DeSantis was the one who started it by running in the first place against Trump's advice. DeSantis made himself a political opponent to Trump. And you guys are okay with, like, Christie or DeSantis or everyone else attacking Trump, but Trump can't return fire? That doesn't make any sense. They're competing against each other. Because DeSantis was the one who decided to compete in the first place. I like both candidates, man. But I'm not going to blame Trump because DeSantis decided to make a mistake. And you could say that Trump's making a mistake by running again, but the polls certainly don't show that. And the fact of the matter is he's using all of these political indictments against him to push his support and his popularity to new heights. It's working. Now, we will see what happens if he actually gets convicted. But the thing was, he's already been convicted. He got convicted in the New York case. They said that Trump committed fraud because he lied about how much money he's worth. He didn't lie, because they valued his Mar-a-Lago property at like $20,000 when a nearby empty lot, a tenth of the size, is $26,000. The Mar-a-Lago makes 26. They said the Mar-a-Lago is worth $20 million, and that nearby lot, tenth of the size, completely empty besides for a bunch of trees, is worth $26 million. The Mar-a-Lago makes $20 million in a year. Okay? And as they go through the system, even though they found Trump guilty, they're finding out that Trump is worth exactly what he said he's worth. So how can they punish him? They would have to they're trying to take away all his businesses in New York, but they have to do it on the premise that Trump lied. And all they're doing is they have to take accountability of all his assets in New York so they can figure out what to take away from him, and they're finding out all the assets are worth exactly what Trump said they were. No one cares that Trump got convicted. No one. No one. And you see people, if you actually have this judge take away all Trump's businesses in New York City, how do you think people are going to see that? How do you think people are going to react to that? Trump Tower is no longer Trump Tower. It's just the Tower or something. They're not going to be happy, man. They're going to look at that and be like, what the hell is going on? How did they just seize all the mainline candidates' assets? That's insane. It's insane. Everyone is going to see it as insane. And as much as they're trying to smear Trump, Trump is just like, he's just explaining how much his businesses are worth and just explaining the businesses at all. And it's like, oh my God. It's not working anymore. People aren't buying the Democrat narrative. They're not buying the mainstream. Trust in the media in America is so low. So incredibly low. It was like, there was a study that came out of like 56, I think, Western countries, and they rated them by how much each country trusts the media. And America came in dead last in trust in the media. No one cares what the media has to say about the Trump trial. No one cares. No one cares. No one cares. No one trusts them. You can't look at it and be like, oh, that's going to convince everyone not to vote for Trump. All these court cases are going to convince them not to vote for Trump. That's not how this works. That's not how this works. I'm going on for 27 minutes. I'm going to cut it there, guys. I'm having an aneurysm right now. This is ridiculous. Stop being crazy. Just stop it. It's like, yesterday wasn't even that big of a loss. It broke even, basically. Like, all the incumbents won their race. That's not a loss. And freaking 6 different people dropped out of the state house in Virginia. I think it was like 2 Democrats dropped out of their seats. Yeah, 2 Democrats dropped out of their seats and 4 Republicans. The Republicans in Virginia... I'm going on again. Real quick. The Republicans in Virginia lost 4 of their members, and at times lost control of the House because of that, and couldn't govern themselves. They couldn't lead effectively. So of course they lost the election. You can't pin that on Trump, because all 52 of those Republicans had their own agency. They're the ones who are in control of Virginia. They're the ones who had to prove that they should be allowed to lead. Trump endorsing candidates is not going to help if those candidates cannot lead the people of Virginia. You have to blame the people who are running. You can't just blame the people who endorse them. How many people endorsed Trump in 2020? How many people came out and blamed all of them for Trump losing? For the love of God, the former governor of Michigan is a Republican. And he only ran as Republican, kind of like Trump, because it was a party that more aligned with his values. And he decided to endorse Joe Biden. And then Trump lost Michigan because Rick Snyder was kind of a popular candidate. He was kind of a popular governor. So all the independents that voted for him, who would have voted for Trump, changed their vote to Biden because Rick Snyder endorsed him. No one blamed Rick Snyder for Trump losing Michigan. Do you not see the double standard there? No one blamed all the Republicans who endorsed a libertarian, a third-party candidate, or straight up endorsed Joe Biden for Trump losing. They just want to blame Trump for everything. They don't want to give agency to anyone but Trump. Trump is not your God. Trump is not God. He's not in control of everything. My God! 30 minutes. It's 30 minutes now. I'm signing off. Bye.